gotta make it out to Vegas, where the lights shine bright. Vegas, in the clear desert night. Vegas, where they can make you a star. Vegas, at the NFR.
NFR Extra is a podcast dedicated to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo and features icons and personalities that embody the Western lifestyle.
Like Ty told me before the finals, like pressure's not real. It's a made up term. It's not something that you can touch or smell. It's not a tangible thing. It's not real. It's only real in your mind if you believe that pressure is a factor in whatever you're doing. So no, I never believed in pressure. All it really gave me was a sense of that I could do it. I came from them. I'm linen from their cloth.
This is pro rodeo announcer Andy Seiler, and you are listening to NFR Extra.
I'll be honest with you, as far as World Championship podcast goes, this is one I was really excited about and I had circled on my list. Just because I don't want to sit here and say that people don't already know the Rocker Steiner story, but they do. But I want to hear it from the man himself, and we'll get a little journey through your NFR history, in the years you've qualified. But, you just gave us a little taste before we started recording as to what round 10 was like. So first and foremost, Rocker, thank you for joining us for the NFR Extra. So tell us first, you were not an unknown, and it's different because there are a lot of bareback riders, saddle bronc riders, bull riders, where it takes a little bit of time for everybody to find out who they are, what they're doing. Your career was followed as a young teenager, and everybody knows that you got help from Ty, but talk us through the process of becoming a pro and then qualifying to your first NFR.
Yeah, I think I got started a little bit different than some. I had the help of Ty Murray and my granddad, who's a world champion bull rider, and he also rode bareback, so he actually has a lot of bareback riding knowledge that I took, and I came up, I started riding when I was 13 years old, and pretty much told myself that I had 5 years to get ready for my rookie year when I was 18, and I just kind of cracked on the scene and immediately kind of started having some success, and I made my first finals, and I thought I was good enough to win the world at 18, and I in Hell on Wheels, Ty said there's probably a part of Rocker that thought he was going to show up his first year and just blow everybody out of the water and win the world, but that's just not how it works, and it's not. But I thought it was, So my first finals, didn't exactly go the way I thought it was going to, but I got a round win and made some money, and really. I thought I was good enough to win the world, but I found out real quick that I wasn't close. So I think my first finals just really made me work a lot harder than I thought I needed to. I thought I was working hard, but I realized I needed to work harder.
Where do you feel like you lacked?
Well, you also got to think, I was 18 years old in Las Vegas, Nevada, king of the world.
Sure.
And so
I get that.
That was a big part of it. Is I would find myself, out at the bars, hanging out with people I probably shouldn't have been hanging out with, way too late. And so that was probably my biggest problem then, I wanted to enjoy everything about Las Vegas, not just winning where I should. I was trying to win in every aspect, of Las Vegas. That was probably my biggest problem. But the next year, I came back and I still had fun, but I took it more serious. But the next 2 years, I took it way more serious, which I had way more luck.
Do you feel like there was somebody that kind of guided you along that process, or was it you just kind of hitting some guardrails and realizing, all right, this is the road I need to be on?
No, I just got sick and tired of losing, so I just made myself I realized myself what my flaws were. I'm pretty honest with myself on where I think I need to grow and where I need to calm down or, whatever. But, I think I just made myself grow up, a little bit faster than maybe some kids, because I think a lot of people don't understand that whenever I was 18, I would have been a senior in high school.
Sure.
A lot of people saw me my first year and thought this guy's, a world-class bareback rider. He needs to, act more mature. But really, I would have been going into my freshman year of college. What does a freshman do in college?
Yeah.
They act a fool and they make mistakes just like I did. But I don't think a lot of people really realize how young I was at that time. But the last 2 years, 25 and 24, I made sure that I was in bed and in great physical health and mental health as well. So obviously, I had more success the last couple of years.
So, and I hate asking the same question, but I always love the answer. Are you someone that, as your time goes through the NFR, are you looking at what people are doing or leaderboards or any of that, or are you totally focused on what you're doing?
I'm terrible at math. I'm terrible. So yes and no. I know where the guys are around me, and I know what, I need to do. But then at the end of the day, I just tell myself, like, let's just make this simple and go win. If you win, it's simple. There's no math involved. So like going to the 10th round last year, like there was like I heard people talking about, well, if so and so does this and Rocker does this, then Rocker doesn't win the world, or all this math stuff, and I was just like, screw that. I'm just gonna go win the 10th round, and I'll just be a world champion. Which is make it simple,
yeah.
And which I won second in the round, which was plenty enough to win the world. But I just went out there to win a go round and take the math out of it. If I can take the math out of something, let's do it. I'm gonna do that. I hate math. Math is the worst.
So you've won the world, but backpedaled to when you've arrived in Vegas for 2025. Like, you're going into round 1 and 2. Your horse draws. What are you thinking as you walk into this week?
Well, the main thing with you can prepare for the NFR. You can get on bucking horses. You can get in the gym, and that's all great. You need to be in great, physical health because it's a battle out here with your body. But a big part of it is your mental game. And you cannot come to Vegas and show up here and wonder if you're the best bareback rider and win a world title. That's not how that works. You have to show up here like literally thinking that there's nobody here that can touch me. And that's exactly what I did. So going into the first round, I was pretty much like, where's my gold buckle? What horse do I have? I don't care. Just go ahead and give me my gold buckle, and really, through, 1 through the 5th round, like that same energy was going, like nobody can touch me, because I won the 2nd round, I won the 5th round. And then that's when the kind of wheels kind of started to fall off. I got real sick. And man, in the 4th round, I got on a re-ride, and something like popped, and I really didn't think much of it. But also, I was getting vertigo. The 6th round, like I bent down to tie my boots on, and I like almost fell down. So I was like battling this like room spinning thing and trying to ride bareback horses at the same time, and I just wasn't drawing great, and the energy changed. And when energy changes, it affected my my momentum dropped, and the guys behind me picked up. It was like the worst possible case was happening. Jess and Sam were drawing great, riding really good, winning 1st and 2nd, and the 2 go rounds that I sucked. And so like I said, 1 through 5 in my head, nobody could carry my rigging bag, and then it changed it a little bit, and, the odds got even. I went in with $100,000 ahead of 2nd. Next thing you know, we're even again. So I had to fight back for what was mine, and which I'm grateful for. I'm glad I didn't just go in the NFR and just blow everybody out of the water, and it was easy. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to work for it.
And so you have those struggles. What about the last couple rounds? Which horses did you have in 9 and 10?
9 and 10. Oh my God, dude! 9th round, most nervous I've ever been in my life. And
you drew what?
There's a horse called Cafe Risque.
Oh yeah, from Vold. Well,
yeah,
now Double
Kirsten,
J.
Yeah. But I was 90 on this horse in Castle Rock and won Castle Rock a couple years ago, which honestly Castle Rock that year was like the hardest rodeo of the year because like I don't think in '88 won. I think '88 might have won like I don't know like 6th or 7th.
Jeez.
So like you had to be, and I won it with a 90 on Cafe. Well, Cafe was an alternate for the NFR. A horse had to get hurt for Cafe to be in the draw. Well, that happens. I get Cafe Risque. And it was at the point where, like, I needed a check. I needed a check, and I needed to bump up in the average probably like 3 or 4 spots. And I knew that I was like, okay, I got to win. I got to beat these guys by, quite a few points to move up. And I have this horse that's an alternate. And I was just like, man, I know this horse. We fit, but like alternate, it doesn't really match up that great with these other horses. Well, before, like, I pretty much felt like the 9th round was the 10th round. Like, the 9th round was the round that I had to win the world. And that's exactly what happened. I won 2nd in the round, bumped up to like 5th in the average or whatever. And going into the 10th round, I was very confident.
And you had what in the 10th round?
Disco party.
Oh, that's right.
Do you feel like it was easier because of the swap, though? Like, because now you are chasing that title versus like you were just riding to ride good all the way through 5.
Yeah,
and then that swap happens.
I ride really good when there's pressure. When I've always said, you rise to whatever, occasion. I've always like tried to explain it like golf. If you're a decent golfer and you go golf with a bunch of guys that are really, really good, you're going to rise close to their level. But if you are a good golfer and you golf with a bunch of guys that suck, you're not going to score as good. So whenever you see guys go before you that are, being 88, 89, 90, and you're nodding your head to be 92 and not be, knowing that you only have to be 84 to win it, like, you ride better. So when there's pressure and I have disco party and there's, 89s and 90s before me, like, being 91 is not hard for me.
How many times have you been on that horse?
3 times now.
Okay.
4 times now, Houston.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, that's it just jacks me up listening to it. But I mean, to see your name next to that horse, I mean,
yeah.
Not
have
to
you
give
ever have you ever heard of the saying, or have you ever heard of the law of attraction?
Yes.
So the law of attraction is real, and I've actually been reading about it quite a bit. Like, you wouldn't think that I like read too many books, but I have been studying the law of attraction. But what's funny is I was doing it and I never even knew, but I was speaking things into existence. So right after the 9th round, I told Goose, Calgary's flank man, I said, I'm going to draw a disco party tomorrow and I'm going to win the world. And I look at my phone a couple hours later, and I'm walking into this sushi restaurant to go eat with my family and get this text. I just scroll over to disco party and scroll right over and see my name next to it. And right then I knew I won the world. You can't eat a California roll after that, though. I mean, what was the order? Like, you can't get disco party and then just. What's funny is, like, I knew I knew right then I won the world. But like, I literally ate and went to bed. It was like 9:30.
What's your sushi order though?
I don't know. I normally just ask the waiter or waitress, like, just what's like y'all's like 2 like most popular rolls. Okay. So like, what's your 2 favorite rolls? So it's always kind of like a surprise.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay.
But I go straight to bed at like 9:30. I haven't been to bed at 9:30 since I've been like 10. I'm serious. Anyway, I go to bed and I don't fall asleep until like 3 in the morning. I cannot fall asleep. I'm riding disco party over and over and over in my head, and I don't think I rode disco party one time. It was the most terrifying thing. Like, I was seriously, like, in my head, staring down my rig and riding disco party, and I got thrown off every time. I'm like, this is the worst nightmare. And I would just open my eyes every time because I'm like, nope, I'm not going to put that even into existence. So I, like, wake myself up, and finally, like, it feels like I'm just awake all day long. Like, it felt like the longest day ever getting ready for the 10th round. But it was the best day of my life.
What's the locker room like for the 10th round?
Man, I had to get out of there, which it might sound bad, but like, dude, there's so much cigarette smoking stuff in there, and like,
it's actually true.
It's so bad.
I can support
I was getting
that.
sick. That's a main reason why I was getting sick. Like, I cannot, like, I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. Like, yeah, I drink, but like, I can't, because like my body, something about smoke, like even like campfire smoke, I get sick. But so I had to get out of there by like the 6th round. I went into the Bronc Riders locker room, and man, honestly, the coolest thing about the 10th round, I would say, running up to my family after the 10th round was my favorite part. But one of the biggest things was right before I go to get on disco, I put all my chaps, get everything ready, and Stetson Wright sticks his hand out and says, "I just want to be the first one to congratulate you on being a world champion."
Oh man, that's cool.
Wait, so just so you know, apparently Stetson was crowning champions before everyone got on.
He he put a sticker. His brother won the world by $347. Put a sticker on his brother's hat before he rode.
And
Yeah,
said,
he was telling me about that.
here's your title.
Yeah, he was saying something about something happened. He's like, man, I just jinxed my little brother. But yeah, that was like one of the coolest things. Like, I mean, Stetson Wright's our champion.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's our Ty Murray.
Yep.
So for him to stick his hand out and shake my hand and say congratulations.
You think you'll ever convince him to get on a bareback horse?
I hope not. He's good at everything. I hope not. Oh. He's been on a bareback horse before. He actually didn't do that bad, which the horse was not very good. But if Stetson spent about 2 or 3 months with me, I can have him riding bareback horses really good.
He's a freak.
I mean, but the thing about Stetson is he's such a winner. He's not going to lose. I don't care if you put him in. I don't care if you put him in racquetball. He's going to find a way to win. You know, that's one of my biggest things about you hear guys talk about, so and so back then couldn't win now. I'm like, that's BS, and you know it, because those guys that won back then would win today because they're winners. Winners are going to win anywhere. I don't care if you throw me in a NASCAR. Will it take me a few years? Yeah, but we're going to find a way to win because that's what you do. I don't care what sport it is. Maybe chess I wouldn't be exactly the greatest, but
Well, all of the champions this year got to do something that I am super jealous of, and we haven't talked to anyone else about this, so you're the first, but you guys got to go to the White House and meet the president. So tell us a little bit about that experience, because that's awesome.
Yeah, so going back to the law of attraction, I told my dad like 3 years ago, I said, Dad, there's no way in my lifetime I don't get to meet Donald Trump. In my lifetime, there's no way I don't get to meet Donald Trump. And a couple years later, I get a phone call from a guy. Normally when I get a phone call from him, I'm in trouble, So he calls me and I answer, and he's like, hey, this is, so-and-so, I was like, well, what did I do now? And he's like, oh, you didn't do nothing. The president of the United States wants to meet you. And I've gotten the call to do a lot of cool things, but I was like, when, where, I don't care where I need to be. When it is, I'm there, and he's like, we don't know where it's going to be, if it's going to be at the White House or Mar-a-Lago or whatever. And I was like, man, the White House would be awesome, but Mar-a-Lago would be badass, But he's like, are you up at Houston those days? And I was like, I will turn out of Houston. Thank God I didn't have to, because my year wouldn't be as good without Houston. But yeah, we got to fly up there, and man, that was really cool, because it wasn't only just us getting to hang out with the president of the United States, who's also Donald Trump. That's awesome. Like, meeting a president of the United States is a huge honor. I don't care which party they're with, but meeting the president of the United States of America, I mean, they run the free world, and so what an honor for a young rodeo cowboy to go shake the hand of the United States president across the Oval Office, or across the Oval desk, but the really cool part was that's really where I got to hang out with all the world champions, because like the rough stock guys and timed event guys, it's not that we don't get along, we just don't get that much time to get to know each other. They're normally the bareback ride. Bareback ride's first event, and then normally we leave right after if we're in a hurry to get to another rodeo. So we don't get time to hang out with anybody that we're not up with. Like, most of the people we see are just the bareback riders and bronc riders. So when we went up there, like, we all got to hang out and spend time with each other, and we went to dinner, and man, it was really cool getting to know Riley Webb and Tucker Allen, who's become a good friend of mine, and so that was a really cool part of it, was just getting to know the guys. Was there anything that the president said, or anything maybe you guys exchanged that, made it even more special for you? Man, it's one of those things where the national champion football team goes to the White House. The NBA teams go there, NFL teams, and I was talking to some of them, and they were saying the president doesn't always like doing these things, because he knows that there's people that are around that don't like him. And, but you got to think he's a person too. Sure. And so when there's people around that don't like you, it's obviously not as fun for you. But they're like, he's really excited about this, because he knows that y'all all, love him. And I was like, man, that actually kind of hits home, because there's people around me all the time that don't like me. And immediately, just being a normal person, like, if somebody's around me that I know doesn't like me, I'm not going to like them as much as well. So just getting to be around, the president and get to share, especially with all my friends, and get to share that memory forever, was awesome.
Did you give him a book too?
Yeah, I gave him a book on my family's ranch in Austin.
Okay.
Which I've always known that, that's what he does, real estate and all that kind of stuff, which was, what my family does. And, our ranch back then was where we, raised all our buck and stock and all that stuff. And now it's one of the biggest communities in Austin. There's like 3 schools there, a couple grocery stores, a bunch of restaurants, So it's a big community, and it goes back to, I want to say the early 1900s, right there in the middle of Austin. And, it's right there on Lake Austin and all the stuff. And so I gave him that book, and it, it has all the rodeo family history and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't expect him to read it or anything, but I thought it'd be cool for him to have, I gave him some spurs and stuff for the finals and that kind of stuff. Just, if I ever get invited somewhere, I always try to bring a gift. I brought Kid Rock a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle.
Oh, I bet he doesn't have it anymore.
No.
That didn't make it on the shelf.
Let's take a quick pause, and we'll be right back. Looking to rope in some news and features you can't find anywhere else? Then look no further than the series of blogs at nfrexperience.com. You'll find customized content from experts in all things rodeo and Las Vegas. There's the NFR Insider and One-on-One with Susan Canode, Gold Buckle Buzz with Brian Hurlbert, NFR Experience with Patrick Everson, and the Junior NFR with Jack Nowlin. There's something for all rodeo fans. Check it out at nfrexperience.com. The NFR and Las Vegas, where every moment is legendary. Well, being in your family, do you feel any added pressure? I mean, when you have a world champion grandfather, a world champion father, your mom's an NFR qualifier, I just, to me, it would feel like there's a huge weight that you have to live up to an expectation. But now that you've done that,
all that ever did was make me work harder. Like Ty told me before the finals, like, pressure's not real. It's a made up term. It's not something that you can touch or smell. It's not a tangible thing. It's not real. It's only real in your mind if you believe that pressure is a factor in whatever you're doing. So no, I never believed in pressure. All it really gave me was a sense of that I could do it. I came from them. I'm linen from their cloth, and it only gave me confidence that I knew I could do it. And it wasn't a matter of like I knew exactly when I was going to do it, but one day I'm going to. Like my first finals, second finals, third finals, I didn't pull it off, but I just knew that I was going to do it one day. If I kept showing up, I was going to be world champion.
So now that you've checked the box, how many more are you going for?
So that's something I got to figure out. I believe that I can win as many gold buckles as I want, as long as my body hangs on. This is a very physically demanding sport, and sometimes you can be taken out, at any time, forever, and so as long as my body hangs on, I know I can win as many as I want to, and as long as I love it. Because if you fall out of love with this sport, you're not going to win. So as long as I have love for the game and my body hangs on, I really believe that I can win as many as I want. But Ty asked me one time, he said, do you want to be the best or the greatest? And he said the best is of right now, and the greatest is of all time. Which one do you want? And I didn't really know, because I didn't know how long I wanted to do this. I've always had this thing where I got really good at something really fast and won the world in wakeboarding, and I fell out of love with it. And I have an addiction to learn. I love learning new things, and I feel like whenever I reach the top, I stop learning, and I want to learn something else. And so bareback riding, I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to figure out how to be better. I've always looked at it as like the best. You're never a perfect golfer until you shoot 18 holes in a hole-in-ones in a row, so you can never be perfect.
Yeah.
There can never be a perfect rodeo season. So that's what I love about it. I can never be perfect, so I can always learn and I can always get better. but you know, there's been people in my life that I loved and I cared about and I looked up to as a hero, you know, that have said things to me that really the only way I can get back at them is to beat them, and they don't rodeo anymore. So you know, sometimes I think that, you know, maybe 2 or 3 would be good enough for me and I can get out and be healthy and, you know, start a life after rodeo. But then again, I always have something to prove to somebody, and prove to myself. You know, sometimes I think that, you know, like I said, maybe 2 or 3 would be good enough, but maybe I just want to prove to myself that I can be the greatest of all time at something.
Who would win in a fight? You, your dad, or Bobby, if you're all the same age?
All the same age?
All the same age.
I mean, I'm not even in that category.
He's all, I'm running the other way. What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm not even close. I mean, I've never seen my granddad fight, and, you know, I've heard stories of my granddad fight, and it was, you know, he's the real deal, you know, and, but I've heard some stories of my dad, like, cleaning house, you know, like, and, like, some pretty big, tough guys came across my dad and didn't want no more of it, you know, and, like, I mean, somebody asked me the other day, somebody just said the other day, they said, you know, every guy has that, you know, time in their life where they, you know, they think they can whip their dad's ass. And I said, I've never had that.
I haven't either. My dad's 63, and I still, like, anybody that, and it's a generational thing, right? Because, you know, the age of your grandfather and your dad, and the same thing with my dad, like, those guys did things with their hands every day. Mm-hmm. And when you do something with your hands every day, I don't care how old you get, you've still got muscle memory that, you know, Toby Keith was right. I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once
as I ever was.
And that's all it takes, right? You know, so
man,
I'm
like
with you.
My dad's very competitive is another thing. Like, my dad will not lose at anything, you know, and if he does, it's not going to be good. You know? And that's how Dad fought. You know, Dad fought. There was no way he was going to lose, and that's why. I mean, I've never heard a story of, you know, someone getting the upper hand on my dad. You know, and I've seen it happen, and it ain't good.
Well, what's the personality difference between you and your sister? Because, I mean, I've announced her name multiple times at rodeos, but I don't get to spend as much time with Steely.
You know, Steely's just very quiet. She's a lot more like my mom than, you know, well, she has traits of my mom and my dad. Like, my sister is very competitive as well. Like, in high school, she was a great track star. She had an offer to go run at Tarleton, which was a D1 school. And, like, you know, she was going to set the state record for the 800. And, like, she ran, like, a 440-something mile. Like, it was, like,
wow.
she was a very
insane.
crazy athlete. But you know, she's just very quiet. She doesn't really care to be, you know, in front of a lot of people. She's not loud. You know, she's just very, like, quaint. You know, she's not, I don't know. I guess she's just, like, we're kind of opposites, you know, like, I want to be in front of everybody. And, you know, like, sometimes I get, like, you know, social anxiety, and, like, I kind of get nervous around crowds, but the only way I can get, like I almost handle, like social anxiety, like, the opposite way. Like, I just get, like, bigger and louder, and I have to be, like, I don't know. I almost have to, like, up my game, like, on a personal level.
Sure.
I don't know how to explain it, but, like, I almost get, like, louder and, like,
You gotta light the fire. Like, you gotta light it and be like, okay, we're going.
Yeah,
fireworks.
I almost get, like, I don't know. I try to. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain myself. But Steely's just very quiet, but she's very competitive, and she's like, I mean, if I was, I'm glad she's not a guy, because she'd probably kick the shit out of me.
There'll be plenty of those.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you're very protective of your sister.
Yeah, I am, but I also know that, like, she needs to, like, experience things herself. You know, I mean, because, like, I put myself in every bad and good situation. You know, I'm only 22, but by the time I was 15, 16, like, I was putting myself in positions that I did not need to be in. And I had to learn the hard way on a lot of things. And so I'm very protective of my sister, but I know for her to, like, grow up and, like, you know, become, like, a woman, which she is. She's, you know, 24 years old, but she has to experience things for herself. And so it's hard to, you know, keep them from that, because if you don't experience things, you don't ever really grow up.
I'm not saying anybody would change anything, but what would 22-year-old Rocker tell 18-year-old Rocker?
Man, I really wouldn't change anything that I've ever done. You know, I mean, look, I've messed up and I've done things that, you know, I probably, you know, shouldn't have done, but I would never take it back, because I learned something from everything I did. You know, I wouldn't tell my younger self anything other than just, just be completely yourself and don't listen to nobody that you don't love. Because at the end of the day, like, I was getting criticism from people that I didn't care anything about, but anybody that I loved that told me something that I needed to hear, I listened, because that's who I looked up to and respected. So really, I mean, I wouldn't change anything about. Sometimes I almost think that I don't give my younger self enough respect, because I mean, I feel like I'm always like, man, I messed up. I should have done this instead of that. But when really that was probably the best thing for me at that time. So I really, I mean, sometimes I wonder maybe if I didn't jump off that roof, I could have been somewhere completely different now. Maybe I wouldn't be a world champion if I didn't do that, and I didn't, work to get myself out of that hole that I dug. So I wouldn't tell myself anything different than just keep being you and don't listen to anybody that you don't love.
It's amazing. I've got a journal that I didn't know I was keeping. 10 years ago was the last time I wrote in it. I pulled it out this morning, and when you look back at where you were and where you are, that manifest destiny that you were talking about, speaking things into existence, it's so true, because you talk to yourself and you say, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And then you look back and realize, oh my gosh, I did those things, because I talked about it and really talked myself into making sure I got that done. So I'm with you. I think we all have times where we go, man, that wasn't my best moment, but if that was the detour I needed to get me to where I am today, then so be it.
Yeah, I mean, another thing is like I said, I've messed up and I've done some things that probably weren't the smartest thing to do, but at that time it felt like the right thing to do. And so you got to respect your younger self. At that time, I felt like that was the right thing to do, so I'm going to stick by him. Like almost talk to yourself as like as like in third person. Like, right. I got to respect what he did, because at the time he thought it was the right thing to do. There's never anything I did where I did it and I was like, man, this isn't the right thing to do, but I'm going to do it anyways. I never did that. But yeah, I think a lot of people also think that I just like did these things and like didn't learn from it. I just like kept being, kind of a reckless kid. But really, I really looked at myself and was like, hey, we need to be better. We can't be doing that stuff anymore. More than what people thought I did. But really, like, when I was a young kid, like, I didn't do as much bad things as some, Sure. Like, I mean, there's been some guys that have done some things that, like, if I did, they'd probably send me straight to the military.
It was just public.
It was just public.
Right, like, yeah.
We're part of a generation where everything is visible now.
And
I mean, even looking back at cowboy history in that matter, like, if there was cameras back then, it would probably be a very different story for a lot of our world champions.
Your heroes would probably not be your hero.
Well, and the tough part about your generation and the kids that are coming up these days is that's where they live. They live in that space, and you have to realize that it's okay for some things to be unplugged. Like, it's okay if we every once in a while just step back and go, hey, we don't need to advertise that. Like, we can, do our own thing at times with the family at the lake. Not everything doesn't have to be, publicized.
Yeah, but it's been great, man. I lived such a great life and great family, and I've had so much success in what I love to do. And really, I mean, I can't complain about anything in my life at all. I've grown up quite a bit, and I've gotten to step back and like realize what I've gotten the privilege to do, and it's been great.
Well, keep it up, buddy. We hope to have you back here next year as a 2-time world champion.
Oh yeah,
thanks for joining us. Want to experience more of the NFR? Then visit NFRexperience.com. And we invite you to subscribe to NFR Extra on Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you're listening right now. If you like what you've heard on NFR Extra, we would love it if you gave us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe.